I shouldn't have let it happen, but if I'm being honest with myself, I wanted it. Maybe not at first, maybe not clearly. But something inside me had been cracking long before that night. And when he touched me just once, just lightly every bit of restraint I had shattered like glass. I remember the taste of cheap wine still on my tongue. The buzz in the room from too many coworkers pretending to have fun at the annual office party. It was the kind of corporate event we all dreaded. Lukewarm appetizers, pipe-tin jazz music, and painfully forced small talk. But this one felt different from the second I walked in. Or maybe it was just him, Matt, the man I'd worked beside for nearly 2 years. The man whose laugh I always heard before I saw him. The man I pretended not to look at when he rolled his sleeves up or adjusted his tie with that slow, easy confidence. The man I never, ever should have touched. We'd always been a little too friendly. I can admit that now. Lingering looks across the office floor. Playful sarcasm in emails that veered just close enough to flirting but never crossed the line. He was charming in the way that made it dangerous, always respectful but always present. He noticed things. When I wore my hair up, when I changed perfume, when I was having a bad day and needed someone to pass me a coffee without saying a word. That kind of attention, it gets under your skin. And I let it. That night I wore a dress I never would have worn to the office, black. Fitted, just daring enough to be risky, but not so much that I couldn't pass it off as holiday chic. I told myself it was for me. That I deserved to feel attractive after months of grinding work and being invisible. But when I saw his eyes find me from across the room and saw the way they stayed there lingering, heavy, I knew better. He was at the bar when I walked up beside him, the sleeves of his shirt rolled to his elbows, tie loosened, smile lazy. And suddenly the party around us went blurry, like we were underwater and the world was somewhere far away. We reached for the same bottle of red wine, fingers brushing, and neither of us pulled away. "Nice dress," he said, his voice low and rough. Like he'd just finished a long run or a long day of thinking too hard. "You clean up okay yourself?" I shot back, trying to sound casual. I wasn't. My pulse was pounding in my throat. He smiled, the corner of his mouth twitching like he had more to say but was holding it back. "You always smell like vanilla," he said after a pause. "I never told you that." That was it. The moment I knew we were past the point of return. You don't say something like that to a coworker unless you've already imagined what they'd taste like. The rest of the night felt like a slow slide into something inevitable. We didn't cling to each other or sneak off right away. We just kept finding reasons to be close, standing shoulder to shoulder during a toast, talking at the edge of the dance floor, laughing at some stupid inside joke that no one else would have understood. At some point, we ended up outside. The cold air a sharp contrast to the heat between us. Snow was falling, slow and silent, and for a moment it felt like we were the only two people in the world. He took off his coat and wrapped it around my shoulders, his hands lingering there just a second too long. That single touch lit me up like fire under my skin. "You're shivering," he said, his voice softer now, his face closer. "I'm fine," I whispered, even though I wasn't. "You can't look at me like that," I added, barely able to hear myself over the rush in my ears. "Like what?" he asked, but we both knew the answer. "Like you want me?" He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. The kiss was sudden but not unexpected. It didn't feel like something new. It felt like something that had been building, waiting, aching to happen. Lips were warm, a little rough, tasting like wine and winter air and something dangerous. My hands gripped his shirt like I was trying to hold myself up, and maybe I was. The way he touched MIT wasn't shy or hesitant. It was all need and hunger and years of tension finally breaking loose. I let myself get lost in it, in him, and in that moment, I didn't care what came next. I didn't care that we worked together or that nothing good ever starts like this. I didn't care that it could ruin everything we'd built. I just knew that for the first time in a long time, I felt something real, electric, terrifying. But even as I wrapped my arms around his neck, even as his hand slid down my back and pulled me closer, something deep inside me whispered a quiet warning I couldn't unhear. You're going to regret this, and God help me. I already knew it was true. Asterisk, I didn't sleep that night. Not really. After that kiss, after that moment, everything blurred. I remember his hand curling around mine as we walked silently to his car, my breath forming little clouds in the freezing air. The snow was still falling soft and steady, like the universe was trying to hush what we were doing. But there was no going back, no pretending it hadn't happened. Not when I could still feel his lips on mine, like they were branded into me. Not when my skin still burned in all the places he'd touched. We didn't even talk. Not really. Silence between us wasn't awkward, it was loaded. Like every unspoken word we'd ever swallowed around each other was now living in the space between our bodies, just waiting to explode. When he opened the passenger door for me, I hesitated. I looked at him one last time, hoping maybe he'd say something rational, something responsible. I was hoping one of us would stop this before we got in too deep. But he just looked at me with those dark, honest eyes and said, "You can still say no." I didn't see we ended up parked behind an old office building a few blocks away, far from anyone who might see. The windows fogged up almost instantly. The cold outside made everything inside feel hotter, more desperate. We were clumsy at first, fumbling with zippers and buttons, bumping knees, laughing breathlessly between kisses like teenagers sneaking around. But once his mouth found the side of my neck, once his fingers slid up my thighs and he whispered my name like it was a prayer, everything else disappeared. It wasn't just lust. I've had sex before, good sex, bad sex, meaningless sex. But this was something else. It was like every bit of tension, every glance, every smirk and subtle compliment over the last 2 years had been leading to this. Like we'd been writing a story in invisible ink, and now, finally, the page had caught fire and revealed the truth beneath it all. The windows were completely fogged by the time we finished. I was curled up against him in the back seat, my dress halfway off, my lipstick long gone. We didn't speak for a while, we just breathed. His hand brushed slow circles on my hip, grounding me. I stared at the ceiling of the car, listening to the ticking of the cooling engine and wondering what I'd just done. Finally, I broke the silence. This is a mistake. He didn't argue. He just sighed and said, probably. But you don't regret it, I added, testing him. He looked at me, and for the first time all night, he looked uncertain. I don't know, he admitted. I think I regret not doing it sooner. My heart did that stupid flip thing it always does when he says something real. We didn't go back to the party. He didn't even say goodbye to anyone. He dropped me off at my building with a long look and a quiet, "Text me when you get upstairs." I did. He replied with a single red heart emoji, and somehow that said more than any sentence could have. The next morning, reality hit hard. I sat at my kitchen table with a mug of cold coffee, staring blankly at my phone, unsure of what the hell I was supposed to do now. Do I act like nothing happened? Do I check in on him? Do I apologize? I didn't text him. And he didn't text me. Monday came faster than I wanted it to. I stood in front of my closet for what felt like an hour, trying to pick something neutral, something that didn't scream I slept with my coworker in the back of his car 2 nights ago. I settled on a navy blouse and black pants. Business, boring, safe. But nothing about the office felt safe anymore. The second I walked in, I felt it. The shift, like the air had changed. I could feel him even before I saw him, like he had gravity. Now, and when our eyes finally met across the room, it was like being hit by lightning all over again. He looked calm, composed, like nothing had happened. But his gaze lingered just a second too long, and that was all it took for my stomach to twist. We didn't talk that day, barely even acknowledged each other. It was maddening. Every time he walked by my desk, I stiffened. Every time I caught His voice on a phone call, I had to remind myself to keep typing. The disconnect between what we were and what we had to pretend to be was almost unbearable. By lunchtime, I felt like I was unraveling. I locked myself in the bathroom for 10 minutes and stared at my reflection, trying to find the version of me that made good decisions. That night, I went home alone and opened a bottle of wine, hoping to quiet the noise in my head. I scrolled through our old messages work stuff memes. That one random Friday where we stayed up texting until 2 a.m. about nothing and everything. I wanted to reach out. I almost did, but I didn't, because I knew deep down that if I opened that door again, I wouldn't be able to close it. And something about him, something about us, felt like it had the power to destroy everything I'd worked so hard to protect. But God help me, I was already halfway in. The first lie we told ourselves was that it would only happen once. I kept repeating it in my head like a mantra every time I saw Matt in the office. It was one night. One mistake, one moment of weakness. But I wasn't fooling anyone, least of all myself. We didn't talk about it, not in person, not over text, not even in passing. The silence between us was the loudest thing in the room, and it killed me because the more I tried to forget, the more I remembered. I remembered the way his hands had memorized my body like he'd been waiting his whole life to touch me. The way his breath hitched when I said his name in the dark. The way he held me after, like he didn't want to let go. And I remembered how fast he disappeared into professional mode. Like he could just switch off everything that happened. Like he had the strength to compartmentalize it, bury it, pretend it didn't mean anything. IDN single quotes, T. Every meeting felt like torture. Every shared glance across the table carried this unspoken electricity that I couldn't shake. I caught myself, watching his hands while he typed, remembering how they'd felt on my skin. I was losing focus at work, and worse, I didn't care. I was craving something that felt more like a secret addiction than a romance. Then came the late shift. It was a Thursday, 2 weeks after the party. Our team was behind on a major campaign, and a handful of us volunteered to stay late and meet a deadline. The office slowly emptied out until it was just me, Matt, and the hum of fluorescent lights overhead. I was trying to stay busy typing, organizing, breathing, but every nerve in my body was tuned to his presence. He broke first. You. Good, he asked from across the room, his voice too casual to be real. I nodded. Yeah, you. He leaned against the edge of my desk. Close to close. We need to talk. I closed my laptop slowly, trying to act like my heart wasn't slamming against my ribs. About what? He hesitated that night. And just like that, the air shifted. It was like we'd both been waiting for permission to stop pretending. I haven't stopped thinking about it, he said quietly. About you. His eyes were so open, so raw, it knocked the breath out of me. We said it was just once, I whispered. I lied. And that's all it took. We didn't even make it out of the office. He pulled me into the dark corner of the break room. Our mouths crashing together like a storm we couldn't stop. Hands on hips, fingers tangled in hair, clothes half on and half off. There was nothing gentle about it. Was fast, frantic, hungry. We didn't care about cameras or consequences. We just needed each other. Afterward, we stood there in silence, still half-dressed, the glow of the vending machine casting a weird light across our flushed skin. This isn't just sex, I said before I could stop myself. No, he agreed, it's not. But neither of us said what it was. And I think that scared me even more. Asterisk, we didn't talk about what we were doing. Just kept doing it. Late-night texts turned into early morning meets. Accidental brushes in the hallway became full-blown excuses to sneak away together. Every time we said this is the last time, it only made the next time happen faster. I stopped keeping track of how many times we'd crossed the line. It didn't matter anymore. We were so far past the line we couldn't even see it behind us. But something about us started to change. It wasn't just sex anymore. Matt would linger after touching my face, brushing hair from my eyes like he needed to see me. He started texting me about real things, his mom's health, how exhausted he was from trying to be perfect all the time, his fear that he was never going to be enough for the life he thought he wanted. I shared things too, things I didn't even realize I'd kept buried, like how I'd never really felt chosen by anyone. Not truly, not without conditions. With him, I felt seen in this terrifying, beautiful way. Like I wasn't just someone he wanted to die, was someone he felt. But that made the secrecy harder. Every office interaction was torture. Having to pretend we were just colleagues when all I wanted to do was reach out and touch him. I hated laughing at other people's jokes around him, hated watching him smile at other women and not being able to say a damn thing. Worse, started to need him in ways I hadn't expected. And then everything cracked. It was a Friday afternoon, and the office was buzzing, people packing up early, excited for the weekend. I was in the kitchen when I overheard two women from HR talking. I wasn't eavesdropping, not on purpose. But then I heard his name. Matt's fiance came by last night, one of them said, laughing. She's stunning, like model stunning. Blood went cold. Wait, he's engaged. The other one asked, yeah, I had no idea either. I guess they kept it quiet long distance or something, but she's moving here in a few weeks. I stood there, frozen. I couldn't even feel my coffee cup in my hand. I just kept staring at the sink like it could explain how I'd missed this. How he never told me. I don't remember walking back to my desk. I don't remember anything except the pressure in my chest, tight and rising, like a scream I couldn't let out. He lied. He held me in his arms, told me I meant something, and all the while he belonged to someone else. Loved someone else. I sat down at my desk and stared at my screen, hands shaking, my world tilting sideways. And then he walked past, smiling like nothing had happened. That was when I realized I didn't just want him, I trusted him. And now I didn't know who I was, more furious at him or myself. I didn't confront him right away. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. I imagined every version of the conversation, me shouting, him begging, me throwing my coffee in his face like something out of a bad movie. But when it came down to it, I didn't know how to say, you broke me, without sounding pathetic. So I stayed silent. I let the hurt rot inside me, feeding off the confusion and disbelief. How could I have been so blind? He looked at me the same, touched me the same, kissed me like I was the only thing keeping him breathing. And the whole time, he belonged to someone else? No, not belonged. He chose someone else. Over and over again. While I was falling harder by the day, he was planning a future with her. A woman he never even mentioned. Not once. So instead of confronting him, I avoided him. I didn't respond to his messages. I skipped out early from work, stopped wearing makeup, stopped trying, stopped caring. And of course he noticed. Cornered me in the stairwell one afternoon, concern etched across his face. Hey, he said softly. Did I do something? I looked at him for a long moment. Could see it on his face. He knew. Maybe not everything, but enough. You're engaged, I whispered. No anger, no drama. Just the truth said out loud for the first time. His whole expression shifted like, I just pulled the ground out from under him. Who told you? That was his first reaction. Not denial, not apology, just damage control. So it's true, I said, blinking back the tears that had been building for days. It's complicated. I laughed then, not because anything was funny, but because it was such a cliché response. I wanted to slap him for it. You let me fall for you, and you were never mine. Not for a second. His voice dropped, urgent. I didn't mean for this to happen. I swear to you. I didn't plan any of it. But you let it happen, I shot back. That's worse. He reached for me, but I stepped back. The stairwell felt too small, too full of lies. My chest ached like it was collapsing in on itself. Were you ever going to tell me? I asked. Before the wedding? Or were you just going to ghost me? After the honeymoon. He didn't answer. That silence hurt more than anything. Don't contact me again, I said quietly. We're done. This ends here. I walked away before I completely broke down in front of him. I held it together until I made it to the bathroom stall, where I finally let the sobs come. Quiet, shaking, bitter sobs that came from someplace. Deep and raw, I wasn't just grieving him. I was grieving the version of myself that believed this could have been something real. Asterisk, it's strange how pain doesn't knock all at once. It seeps in slowly through morning routines, quiet walks home, the spaces where that person used to exist. For a while, I went numb. I moved through work like a ghost, smiled when I had to, nodded through meetings, said I'm fine, so many times I started to believe I might be. But healing doesn't happen in one big moment. It comes in fragments, small, sharp ones. Like when I deleted his number and felt relief instead of panic. Like when I saw him in the hallway and didn't flinch. Like when I stopped blaming myself. It took time, but the version of me that needed his validation started to fade. I stopped waking up hoping for a message. I stopped looking for him in every room. And slowly I started choosing me again. Then something happened I wasn't ready for. I found out I was pregnant. I didn't even believe the test at first. I sat on the bathroom floor for almost an hour just staring at it. My hands were shaking, my throat dry. It felt impossible, surreal, but also strangely quiet. There wasn't a rush of panic, just a stillness, a recognition. This was mine, no matter how it happened, no matter who he was. I told no one, not right away. I needed time to feel what I needed to feel. I didn't want opinions or advice or pity. I didn't even want his name spoken around me. This wasn't about him anymore. But a week later, I ran into him. He was in the parking garage, alone, leaning against his car like he was waiting for someone. When he saw me, he stood up straighter, nervous. I heard you were avoiding me, he said, almost smiling. I didn't return it. I wasn't avoiding you. I was healing from you. That shut him up fast. I'm not with her anymore, he added quietly. I don't care, I replied, and I meant it. For the first time since this entire mess began, I truly didn't care what he did. But then I paused. There's something you should know. His eyes searched mine, cautious. What is it? I'm pregnant. The words hung in the air, heavier than anything we'd ever said before. His mouth opened, then closed again. He didn't speak. Not right away, and I didn't wait for him to. I'm not telling you because I want anything from you, I said. If you have the right to know, that's it. Can I be a part of it? He asked, voice barely above a whisper. I don't know yet, I replied honestly, but I'm going to be okay either way. And I meant that too. That night, I sat on my couch, hands on my stomach, the soft hum of the city buzzing outside. My window. I wasn't sad, I wasn't angry, I wasn't even afraid. I was starting over. Not with him, with me, and maybe. That's the real love story.